Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of
the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
And here's your host, Jana, and her big brother, Jeff. Time for another edition of Playoff SRBB, the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Before we get started, let's remind everybody where we can be found on social media.
We can be found on social media at Instagram and Facebook at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. And another, I don't know, did everything go as you expected?
I really thought that the Yankees would win a game, at least one. And I absolutely loved the NLCS.
So we'll talk about all that and give you a preview of what we think could happen in the World Series, along with some commentary on how baseball handled the playoffs this year thus far. When we last left you,
dun, dun.
Our hero was tied up to the train tracks. Well, kind of. They weren't necessarily our hero. But let's do this. We'll start off with the American League, move on to the National League before we head on into the World Series. So when last we left you, the Yankees were tied to the railroad tracks.
Oh, no.
Awaiting someone to come save them. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton.
Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, it didn't happen. So we talked about games 1 and 2 last week, and the Asterix, I almost said Astros, but Asterix had won the first 2 games, heading into game 3 back in the Bronx, and that's where we pick up our story.
It was a lovely day in the Bronx. The mood was hopeful.
Isn't it raining? Overcast, cold? I don't know.
It was cloudy. But there was still hope.
Hope
in the air.
Hope in the air. And somewhere around the 6th inning, that hope was completely dashed. Christian Javier, Garrett Cole on the mound for their respective teams. Both of them went about the same. 5 innings for Cole. Javier went 5 1/3. The main difference was runs given up. Christian Javier gave up none. Garrett Cole gave up 5. And only Lou Trevino out of the bullpen for the Yankees gave up 1 more hit, and the rest of the bullpen shut him down, but that wasn't enough, as that the Yankees offense could do nothing. Giancarlo Stanton had a double, Matt Carpenter, Harrison Bader, all with hits, and that would be it. No runs. Aaron George, might as well change his name to George. Aaron Judge, who cares who he is? Doesn't matter what his name is. He was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, and Yankees fans were not happy the booing was taking place. It was raining down upon the Yankees.
It was, and they would have liked the rain out right about then.
Yeah.
But they didn't get one. Alex Bregman remained hot, 2 for 4 in that game, and Chas McCormick with a home run. But they run off 5 total and beat the Yankees 5-0 to come within 1 game of sweeping. And if you happen to check our Twitter, that question was asked. Will they run through? Will they lose one? To me, the team that should have beat them at least once was the Yankees.
Yeah, they should have won at least 1 game. I really thought when they went back to New York, they would get 1 game. Or, maybe make this major comeback. There's a lot of talk about the Red Sox and the 2004 series and, getting motivational speakers in the clubhouse to get them riled up. And they tried, but they're still tied to the train track.
Yeah. So that takes us to Sunday night, October 23rd, which is 2 things happened that night. And we'll talk the second thing after we're done with the NL. playoffs.
The first thing, ticket prices plummeted. You could go to the game for about $28.
I saw that from like 200 down to $20. The
Yeah.
hope that you spoke of
Had been dashed.
it was gone. It wasn't even dashed. It was
Yeah.
obliterated. There were people there who all of a sudden said, I guess I'm just going to have to invest in the jet season now. Jets, Jets. And that's where they went because, yeah. A little better. They were on the road. They scored 3 runs in the first 2 innings.
Yeah, so that hope was on the surface. Is like kind of breaking back through.
Yes. The problem is that one thing that was a problem is that Nestor Cortez only went 2 innings. Expected much more from him. Wandy Peralta, who had pitched overall pretty well, he goes for 2. They end up just bullpenning it out. Not a lot of bullpen members, not like a normal bullpen game where there's like 8 of them. Lance McCullers Jr. pitches in game 4 after he was scratched for game 3 because he got hit in the elbow by a celebratory champagne bottle or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems weird. He's like, he wasn't doing anything, really wasn't swinging it or anything. I just ran into it. That's weird.
Yeah, okay.
I think that he might not have just been ready for game 3. And
Yeah,
or
that's probably
Dusty. Dusty had something in his magic bag.
something up his sleeve, like
Yeah,
a dryer sheet or something like that.
maybe.
And yep. So, he gets out. Nestor gets out of the first inning, no problems. Lance McCullers has the problems where he gives up a single to start off to Harrison Bader, hits Anthony Rizzo, and then Giancarlo Stanton comes up with a single, and then Gleyber Torres follows up with a single, and that ends up scoring the 2 runs to start things off for the Yankees. And then it's in the second that they get that other run thanks to a double off of McCullers by Anthony Rizzo that scores Isaiah Kiner Falefa, not falafel.
Those are good, though.
They can be. They're done right. Who doubled earlier to start everything off. Rizzo brings him home. So things are looking pretty good for the Yankees at this point. You're feeling all right about it.
Yeah, they're feeling better. People who sold those, lowered the price to get rid of the tickets might have been a little upset by this point. And then Jeremy Pena comes to the plate.
Jeremy Pena, rookie shortstop, comes up with Martin Maldonado on base and the tiny one, both on base due to walks, and Jeremy Pena hits a home run.
To tie the game.
Yes. So the game's tied. So that's the end of the day for Nestor Cortez. No outs in the 3rd inning. They bring in Wandy. And, what does Wandy do? Wandy gives up a double to Yordan Alvarez, a single to Kyle Tucker, and then a single to Yuli Gurriel. That scores Yordan Alvarez. So now the Asterisks are up 4-3.
But there's still hope because Anthony Rizzo comes to the plate.
Thanks
what does he
to
do?
A single by Harrison Bader and a passed ball to Anthony Rizzo. Bader is in scoring position, and Anthony Rizzo singles. Just a lousy single, and it ties up the game.
So we're back. The Yankees are back. Maybe. So, Yankees change pitchers to Jonathan Loizaga, who, for the most part, stops the Asterisks over the next couple of innings. And then cue Hector Neris has got 2 outs,
when unlikely hero and unlikely postseason stud taking tonight, playing the role. Remember, if you go to like a play and the understudy steps in for somebody, or the main character's not there.
Yeah.
Tonight, playing the role of Aaron Judge, Harrison Bader.
Newly shorn Harrison Bader.
Yes. And honestly, you could say that about almost the whole playoffs.
Yes.
Harrison Bader. Home run, just a solo shot, and that puts the Yankees up 5-4. So the Astros come to the plate there in the top of the 7th with Loizica still on the mound. Been looking good. Gives up a single to the tiny one. Jeremy Pena into a fielder's choice. Pena ends up at first base due to an error on the throw. And Yordan Alvarez with a single, scoring the tiny one, moving Pena over, and then the just a little less tiny one, Alex Bregman, with another single to the newly inserted Clay Holmes that scored Jeremy Pena. And now the Yankees are down 6-5. Was there hope? Where did the hope go? Are they still hopeful? No.
Hope does not float.
It not unless you're Sandra Bullock. Because they pretty much go out each inning after in order, including the ninth, with a fly ball and 2 ground outs. And that last ground out appropriately by Aaron Judge for the final out of the game. And that is it. The Asterix have swept the Yankees and are on their way to yet another World Series. Didn't they just get beat there last year?
Yes, they did.
All right. So on their way back to see if they get beat in the World Series again, or can they win one? Now, here's a question. Do we think if they win, or what's been going on, at some point, isn't it in the back of your mind that they may still be cheating?
Always. It's always in my mind. It's never going to ever go away. Because I know that there are guys that aren't on the team anymore, but there are still guys who are a big part of that. Tiny one and the slightly little less tiny one. They were there.
As was Yuli Gurriel.
Yes. And yeah, other guys on the team knew what was going on. I mean, even Joe Musgrove, who was part of that 2017 team, said it would be nice to win a World Series the right way. So it's always going to be there, no matter how much MLB Network tries to, push it under the rug. And we all know what happened, and they just kind of sweep it under the rug. Because I don't really think they should be showing highlights from the 2017 World Series talking about the Asterix running up to the series starting, today. So
right.
I
agree. I agree with that. That's crazy. So to finish up the series, the Asterix, who we've talked about throughout these playoffs, seem to be overall the perfect playoff team.
Well, they're undefeated. They're 7-0.
Right. And so they need 4 more to sweep the playoffs. And they're doing this really without Jose Altuve's bat. He only batted 188 in this particular series. I'm not sure where he was, but he had the bad series before. This is only the second playoff series for him. Kyle Tucker, who was a big bat for him during the season, batting even worse, 100 at 154. Really, Bregman stepped up. Yuli Gurriel hit well. Christian Vasquez also was big for him. He only played in one game, but he hit when he needed to. Martin Maldonado, who's not usually a big bat, but really, and even Yordan Alvarez wasn't that great in this series. He didn't even have any home runs in this series. He took care of the first series, and he gave his bat to Jeremy Pena.
Yeah, who was the ALCS MVP.
Yep. We don't have MVPs in the prior series, but we do in this one. And he walked away with it. 353 over the series with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, a couple of doubles. As the Asterisks, I would say this makes a really interesting matchup for the World Series. And we'll tell you why once we get to the World Series. Right now, let's talk about what happened in the National League Championship Series. Now, I know that you were all about the Phillies, not necessarily because you're some sort of closet Philly fan, but you do have the connection. You mentioned it last week to the area, so it's not like you're foreign to it, but it's more a dislike, dare I say, hatred of the brown and yellow of got slammed. I don't know. San Diego and the Padres. I wasn't surprised at how the series went based on what I saw in the previous series. So let's take a look at this series that actually was not a sweep. It went more than just 4 games. And when we were last at this, as we rejoin the program already in progress, you know, the 2 teams, the Phillies and the Drags, leave San Diego 1-1. The Phils taking the first game, the Drags coming back and grabbing the second game with a similar MO to what they did to the Dodgers. They get there, and then, as you said in the last episode, the worst thing that could ever happen, they went to Philadelphia. Now, you were talking about the Braves in that one, but the Padres walked into something. They thought they had a rowdy crowd, and the fans were very, very excited in San Diego. I can't take anything away from the Padres fans. They were there to cheer on and support their team. But the Phillies fans came out, and I almost believe that if you were a Padres fan and went to that game, you were in jeopardy of being cut. I would be almost, for sure. So let's take a look, starting with game number 3 of this series, which, if you were watching or listening to the experts, everybody was giving this game to the Padres, primarily because they were sending Joe Musgrove, who had great success all season and in the playoffs, against a guy making his first postseason start, somebody that, unless you happen to pay attention to Phillies baseball or have seen them play your team, you probably didn't have any idea who he was. Ranger Suarez. So not a lot of confidence for the Phillies pitching-wise that night from the so-called experts. I figured this is the playoffs. Guys like Ranger Suarez show up big in these circumstances all the time. And I can tell you right now, you go back to 2020, Julio Urias was a young pitcher who showed up big in the playoffs. Why couldn't Ranger Suarez do that? I don't know.
I don't know either.
So Suarez hits the mound, goes for 5 innings, only gives up 2 runs, as opposed to Joe Musgrove, who did go a little over 5 2/3, but he gives up 4 runs on 8 hits.
It doesn't help. Also, Kyle Schwarber gets a leadoff home run instantly gets the crowd in the game. I mean, they were in the game anyway. You're in South Philly. It's just, yeah, it's perfect.
Exactly. So they get that going, and they did exactly what I said last week that the Padres needed to do to the Phillies, which was draw blood first. I think you even said sweep the leg. You don't mess around. Get right on it. No mercy. And instead, Rangers strikes out 2 of the first 3, Manny Machado with a fly ball. Schwarber leading off, hits that home run you just mentioned. And then Musgrove luckily gets out of the inning, but thanks to a double play. But he walks Bryce Hoskins and JT Realmuto. And uncharacteristically, Bryce Harper is the one that hits into the ground, the double play, and then Nick Castellanos lets Musgrove off the hook without more damage. But like you said, the crowd's already into it. That was the first mistake. But it's pretty quiet after that. I think there was maybe a double somewhere in there. Maybe I think Cronenworth had a single or something. But for the most part, nothing really happened. No runs, nothing else going on until we get to the top of the 4th. And Rangers still in there pitching. And he hit Juan Soto, gives up a single to Brandon Drury. And then Jake Cronenworth, who's been huge for the Dregs most of the postseason, comes through with a fielder's choice that got him an RBI because Juan Soto scores. Brandon Drury goes to second and safe there due to a misplaying, and Jake Cronenworth makes it to first base. But the Phillies are able to get out of that one.
Yeah, Gene Segura committed that error, and if you're watching the game, he was called out. Cronenworth was called out on the field. It was called out on the field on the force play, but when you saw the replay, he never had the ball. So I'm not sure what the umpire was seeing there, but it didn't matter because in the bottom of the 4th, the same guy who makes the error hits a single, and Alex Bohm scores, Bryson Stott scores. And I think I saw some stat that Gene Segura is the only player to have made an error, get a hit, and have an RBI in the same inning since spin the wheel 1894. No, I don't know, but that stat though I heard was like he's the first player ever to do it.
And once again, they were lucky to get out of that inning for the first time since 1900. They were lucky to get out of the inning without more runs. The Padres were lucky because Bryce Harper started out the inning with a single, and then Castellanos hit into a double play. Alec Bohm and then Bryson Stott, single, double, like you said, Segura with his single, 2 RBI single, and then he messes up again to end the inning. Brandon Marsh at the plate when Segura gets picked off first base.
Oh, so maybe, he made an error, got a hit, had an RBI, and got picked off. And that has been since 1963.
1866. I don't know, but he was having himself a crazy game. Yeah, but whatever it was, the pickoff, which kind of sucked, he still drove in 2 runs. Yes. So they're up 3-1 now, no longer tied. Next error. I guess I'm giving stuff away. Trent Grisham reaches on an error and then moves on to second base when with the first baseman missed that ball. And so he's on base, moves over to third base on a ground out, and then Ha-Sung Kim, he grounds out as well, but it scores a run. And so there they are, 3-2. And it kind of sits there for another inning, percolating. And then bottom of the sixth, Alec Baum able to double in Nick Castellanos. And that would pretty much end the scoring in that game. Nobody else scored the rest of it. And the Phillies get one game closer to possibly taking the NLCS. They've got 2-1. We go to the next game the next night. And oddly, no weather issues to delay or stop play in Philadelphia.
Yeah, they had ordered the perfect weather. A little chilly, but that's to be expected. Yeah. But that makes it all the more fun. And you get to wear, your stocking caps, your Philly stocking caps and all that stuff, in style.
Yeah. That works out nicely.
Yeah.
So we go to the next game, and the Dregs are saying there is no way we are going to go down. We need to win another one, even this series up, and they start off big. 4-run first inning.
Yeah, there was Rob Thompson, who was the manager, decided to go with a Bailey Falter. And was hoping...
Not a great last name.
No. No. Yeah. It
Will
doesn't
Bailey
bode well.
Falter?
He was hoping to get 9 outs from Bailey, but he faltered and only got 2.
The first 2 he saw, which included Juan Soto.
Yeah.
But after that, the wheels fell off. He faltered, and he faltered big.
6 batters, and the Padres are up 4-0.
Yep. Thanks to a home run from Manny Machado, a double from Brandon Drury, and Hassan Kim also contributing there. Now, the nice thing is that the Phillies were facing one of the weaker members of the Dregs starting pitching core in Mike Clevenger.
Yeah, Sonny.
So we look at the first inning, we talk about Bailey Falter. Well, he got 2 outs, boom, boom, and then he fell apart. That wasn't the case for Mike Clevenger. In his first 4 batters, he gave up a single, a home run, he walked JT Realmuto, and then a double to Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, with another playoff home run, scoring Kyle Schwarber. And then he was able to get 3 outs. But actually, he wasn't, because Nick Martinez was brought in to stop the hemorrhaging. So neither starting pitcher makes it out of the first inning.
No,
however,
you're thinking, watching that game, like, what is going on? This is weird.
So Bailey Falter actually lasted longer than Mike Clevenger.
Yeah. There
you go, Mr. Thompson. That's a silver lining. And then from there, it's kind of quiet for a little bit until you get 4-3. You get to the bottom of the 4th, where Castellanos doubles and Bryson Stott drives him in with a single. So they've tied everything up. Can the Dregs go back ahead? I don't know. Brad Hand's coming in. Can he stop them?
Did they talk to the Hand? No, they did not.
I'll tell you right now, they did not, because somebody who's probably faced, if I don't know the numbers on it, but probably faced Brad Hand many times, in Juan Soto, woke up.
Yeah, just decided to come out of his slumber and hit a 2-run home run to make it 6-4.
And bringing home Jerks and Profar with him. But it seems as though every time the Dregs do something, the Phillies say, "Oh yeah, hold my beer." And Sean Manaea, who had come in an inning or so earlier, starts off and it works out great, strikes out Brandon Marsh. But for whatever reason, they can't get this guy out. Kyle Schwarber. Afraid of him, I guess. They walk him. But why would you walk him to get to Rhys Hoskins?
Didn't they know? Don't they know the story? Didn't they see what happened when that happened? before.
Just like 2 innings earlier or 3 innings. They didn't even have to go back in time. So Sean felt obliging, and Rice Hoskins with a home run, bringing Kyle Schwarber home again. And then walks JT Realmuto, and Bryce Harper this time doubles. Scoring JT, they're able, actually, Bryce Harper ends up scoring that inning as well, thanks to a single by Castellanos off of Luis Garcia, who came in to replace Sean Manaea, and that was it. He was able to finish off and get out of the inning after that. Noah Syndergaard, Thor, comes in and pitches for just a little over an inning. Just gives up a single, and then actually gives up 2 singles over the batters, the 6 batters that he faced. And then, Kyle Schwarber strikes again with a deep to center field home run, grabs an 8-6 lead makes it a 9-6 lead thanks to his home run. Rice Hoskins follows him up with just a weak pop fly.
But then, JT Realmuto wanted to get in on the action too.
Right. And this time he didn't do it in the park.
No, he actually hit it out of the park to make it 10-6. Phillies had 4 home runs in that game. Noah Syndergaard, David Robertson, and Zach Eflin combined for 4 scoreless innings of relief. So they pretty much, those 3 guys came in and shut the Padres out, and Phillies still had some in their tank, and that was Schwarber and Realmuto.
So they got the insurance runs.
Yeah.
That's what they needed. The Drakes, this is really the Drakes team that we saw all season. And it goes to show that seems reasonable that they would fall apart like this, because the team that they so badly wanted to beat is the team they played the hardest against. And not that there's anything wrong with leaving it all out on the field, but when your end goal is to win a title, and imagine if they'd have won a World Series without Tatis Jr., what that means, potentially. Might mean nothing. But I did see just recently, and I haven't gone back and really looked at things that might affect next season or the off season, was that they said, what's going to happen when Tatis comes back? And goes, there's going to be some good competition because he's going to have to earn his spot.
Yeah.
And we alluded to that with Ha-Seong Kim, maybe staying it short and him having to find a spot in the outfield. Right now, I wouldn't replace him, Trent Grisham with him, but that could change. That aside, we go to the final game of this. So I've kind of given away where we're already going.
But actually, not the score. We don't know the score yet.
No,
right?
we don't. We don't know how they got there. But the thing is that on the 23rd, there were 2 baseball games, both elimination games. We know what happened in Houston. And if you've already forgotten because you have a short attention span, then now we're going to find out what happened in this one. Do we go to 7 games? Will there be a 6th game? Or will it end at 5? Let's take a look. Let's go to the map. Let's go to the box score. Padres, no runs in the first 3 innings. No runs in the first 2 innings for the Phillies either. Maybe they were tired from the previous game. It took them a little bit to get going. Zach Wheeler on the mound versus Yu Darvish, and they really kind of had similar lines. Both of them threw 6 innings, gave up about the same amount of hits and the same number of runs. Wheeler struck out 8. Both gave up a home run. Really, in this case, it came down to the bullpen for both the Dregs and the Phillies. And, we get to the 3rd inning. The Phillies throw up 2 on the board. Those were the 2 runs that Yu Darvish gave up. and he could thank the duo. If Schwarber doesn't hit a home run on his own, what's on base? Rhys Hoskins will get the home run and bring Kyle home.
Every time. A
So
dynamic duo.
they take a 2-0 lead, and then that's in the bottom of the third. Top of the fourth, though, the Dregs say, no. We need to be in this game, and we need to get something going. And former NL East foe Juan Soto, with his second home run of the NLCS, gets them on the board. And then it's a little bit of a pitcher's duel for a few innings there between you and Zach. Zach finally comes out after giving up a single to Jake Cronenworth in the top of the seventh. And then I never remembered seeing this guy, and I thought maybe he was like British, Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But he might be. I don't know. He's been knighted. Sir Anthony just made it part of his name. Josh Bell drives in Jake Cronenworth, and then thanks to a wild pitch, Jose Azocar, who pinch ran for Josh Bell, ended up scoring the go-ahead run at that point, and they are up 3-2. Yu Darvish met the same fate as Zach Wheeler after a double to Bryson Stott, and that brought in maybe a friend or a relative of Ranger Suarez, Padre reliever Robert Suarez. And he's able to get out of that inning even after intentionally walking Kyle Schwarber. That's probably why he was able to get out of that inning. Although Rhys Hoskins hits a fly ball, it's just not a long fly ball as normal. And now there's a tiff between him and Schwarber. How could you leave me there? You didn't come and pick me up. Disappointed. So we get to the bottom of the eighth. JT Realmuto singles. And here comes Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper, who, when he was signed, said, I'm going to take this team to the postseason. We're going to go to the World Series. And what a call Joe Davis made for this event. It was 2-2. It was a sinker, outer half of the plate. He was waiting for it, and he sent it into the left field seats for a go-ahead 2-run home run. And as Joe Davis said, it was the at-bat of his life, because that was it.
Hits one in the air, left center field, back it goes! Harper, the swing of his life!
The Padres lost.
Oh my God, the Padres lost. Yep, it took David Robertson and Ranger Suarez to buckle it down, but that was it. And as I so poorly concealed earlier on by giving it away, that would be the last game of the series. Now, there is something that I have to say about that, but we'll talk about that when we get towards the to the World Series. Right before that, in this series, though, NLCS has an MVP as well, and his name would be
Bryce Harper.
Indeed, Bryce Harper walking away, batting .400 over the series. Only struck out once in 20 at bats.
And wearing his Fanatics cleats and the headband, and yeah, just looking sharp.
He had said when he went there, he took a little bit less money than he probably could have gotten other places, but he said he wanted to go. He signed a 13-year contract, said he wanted to go someplace, establish himself, become part of the community, become part of the whole environment, and he has done that.
Yeah, he really has. And yeah, they love him. They love
2
him
home
there.
runs, 5 RBIs. Only Rice Hoskins had more RBIs during the series, but Rice only hit 222 with his 7 RBIs. 4 home runs to Bryce's 2, but overall Bryce 3 doubles. And so he walks away with the NLCS MVP, ready to take on the Asterisks. Time for the World Series. A lot of unhappy fans out there from the teams that are left behind, that didn't make it there, that had the big dreams, especially Yankee fans, I think. It's probably, Dodger fans and Yankee fans, I think it's the worst for those two. Braves fans, no doubt.
Well, obviously the Dodgers were supposed to have this magical season. They, won 111 games. They should have been it. This was their year. But as we know, that's not what happens in October, ever.
Nope.
And, and for Yankees fans, they had that run, and they saw Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs, and they thought, this is it. This is going to be our year. And it was not.
Right.
And at least 2 Yankee players, according to sources, told their agents that playing in the Bronx during that series was an unusually brutal experience. And some reportedly struggled to believe boos were directed at slugger Aaron Judge and the force of the jeering toward struggling third baseman Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, I think Josh Donaldson definitely deserved it. I don't know about Judge, but I get it.
Right, because you watched him hit 62 home runs, and then he gets, what's he do on the last at bat? So
right. And
definitely
that's the thing that, and a lot of people have been writing this on different things, whether it be social media or that, just like, it's good that Aaron Judge, the voting for MVP doesn't include the playoffs. Happens before that. And because people would take this into account. And that's the whole thing. We know, we've lamented it with the Dodgers winning 111, but losing when they needed to win. The 111 no longer matters.
You're back. You reset to 0 in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. So,
and the Padres, talking about the Padres, I joked and said, the Padres playing the Dodgers, that's their World Series. And it did kind of become true because they beat the Dragon to the north. And that really, I think, if that was their singular goal, they got their goal because they faltered.
I think maybe that just comes back to be a bad thing to have said. Because it gives them more importance than they should have assigned. Not that the Dodgers aren't a team that you have to pay attention to and that you want to beat because they are in your division. But I don't know. I just think that they overplayed. They played above their heads based on what we saw all season to beat the Dodgers. And the Dodgers let them.
Yeah, because there was if you go back and watch any of those games, which you really shouldn't, don't bother as a Dodger fan, there's no spark. There's no get up and go. There's no oomph. There's nothing. And and it was, Max Muncy walking off the field in the rain in San Diego says it all.
Mm-hmm. So both of these teams, you've got one team that's technically from the AL West, although they're in a central location in Houston, and the NL East takes the NL, and the Phillies, who got hot at the right time, staying healthy at the right time. They are there. So in what we thought was going to be a World Series that would certainly include the Dodgers, maybe the Padres, it is now all quiet on the Western Front. There is no more playoff baseball here. Most people out in the West can't stand the Asterisks. Some probably don't care about the Phillies, but the Phillies are less so. And I think the Phillies being a major underdog, they were a 6 seed. They were at the bottom of the NL pile, and they move on. But before we kind of talk about that matchup, we have to talk about the biggest gaffe in the MLB's playoff scheme. Now, we talk, when your team gets eliminated, it's like, oh, there was too much time off. There was this, and that didn't work out very well for the teams who got the byes. Only in the American League did the 2 teams with byes move on. And all the other 100-win teams gone early. Only the Asterisks remain of the 100-win teams. And having extra time off, I think, works in their favor. But here's where I think they messed up. Instead of having a fluid scheduling situation, it's like the Super Bowl. The last game of the playoffs in football, it's 2 weeks to the Super Bowl. Everybody knows that. Everybody accepts that. It used to only be a week, but it's 2 weeks. But it's one game, and those guys beat the daylights out of each other. And so having that 2 weeks is good. It can throw people out of rhythm, but it's good. The problem is now there's been more NFL football games played since the last baseball game. And for a sport that's once a week, how is it that we went from Sunday to Friday without a baseball game?
Manfred. That's all I can say. It's got to be Manfred. It doesn't make sense to me why you would just not. Obviously, there would be a break because the Phillies have to travel to Houston, but then that would be it. So you could have started the series on Tuesday.
Right, and that's normally what happens.
But they've drawn it out.
They should have said once, dates and times will be decided after. But instead, they set it up, and who knows, maybe Fox said, we need a locked-in schedule right now so we can plan around it. I mean, they've done that. They can do that, as the broadcast partner in the contracts. But I still think that it would have been better to not wait a whole week for 2 reasons. Number one, this is the time that everybody's watching. Don't let them slip away.
Yeah.
Number 2, I don't think that this is fair to the Phillies. The Phillies have been playing since the wild card with very little time off in any of their series, and they're on a roll. Whereas the Asterisks, this plays into their hands because they've had time off. And because they're the only team who has swept their 2, they had extra time off. Well, like the Yankees and the Guardians were beating each other up and having weather delays. They had extra time off. They sweep, and that didn't really seem to matter too much as far as like the time off because they both ended up playing their last game on the same day. But now they get this few days off. They get to go home, get situated, and they've been fine with it. And now you've got to face their pitchers on fully rested. Is Justin Verlander going to come out and make up for, a couple of below average or average outings? Obviously we don't know, but he's in a better spot to do it.
I don't know what their reasoning. I don't know if it was, we'll give them, some time off, it rests the pitchers. I don't know what the And I think the probably the best point that you brought up is people are watching. They want to continue. They don't want to have to wait for a week. And so now they're like, oh yeah, I think the World Series is on, versus like, NFL, you have it on Monday night, you got it on Thursday night, it's there. If they had just started and said, okay, if it goes this many games, it will start on Tuesday. If they had to go back to San Diego, it would have started this day, but there would have been a plan put in place.
And instead, they just assumed everything was going to play out maximum amount of games every series, or at least one series. And it didn't work out that way.
Nope.
And now they have this big open space. And I think it goes on to, this is part of Manfred's march against baseball.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is you have two teams that are in markets that are not big markets. Houston is, both of them are cities, obviously, Philadelphia and Houston, but they're not like major, you don't have, if it had been on the West Coast, Los Angeles, even to a certain extent, maybe San Diego, but New York, obviously, bringing in those major markets that they call them, and they don't have that now. And so then they've put in this break, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see what the when they come out with viewership numbers and what those numbers are going to be, because who's watching? Is it just going to be Philadelphia, Houston, and the areas around there, South Jersey,
Right.
Who's watching?
The fan base areas.
Yeah. And then, Dodger fans, Yankees fans, they're, I've seen it all over. They're checked out. Oh, I think I'm going to watch the NHL. Because I think on Sunday when these two teams played, when they had the elimination games, it was the first time there were MLB games, NBA games, NFL games, all going on. All the major sports.
Yeah, regular season games were all happening at the same time. It was one of the few times, if not the first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where it is. It's why not take advantage of people being excited about the Phillies.
Right.
That's going to draw in maybe a bigger audience, and they didn't do that. They didn't take advantage of it, and I'm not surprised because that's keep
MO.
dropping that ball. There's constant errors, unforced errors by Manfred and his team.
They can never get the runner over. They can never advance the runner.
Nope. That's even with a ghost runner.
Right.
All right, so let's take a look at this. We've got Houston, who is obviously the better of the two teams, and not just on paper. All the things that the Phillies are good at, it seems like the Astros are just maybe even a little better or a lot better. The one thing that the Phillies have that I think the Astros don't really have is they have a different emotion, the set of emotions going. They are truly the underdog, but they have, with Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Rice Hoskin, Segura, Gene Segura, Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh. All these are guys who have at some point did stuff. Bryson Stott. So they can all come through. How does that, match up? What if Yordan Alvarez has another big series? What if Jose Altuve actually starts hitting? All of them stay in line there. And that's the thing with all of these is that the Phillies need to have good series from all those guys. And maybe somebody else, and JT Realmuto also in that mix. They need all of them to be on top of it. the Asterisks have shown that 2 or 3 of their big players can be down, as we saw with Altuve and Tucker right there. And even in this one, Yordan Alvarez didn't have a home run, but they still swept the Yankees. So it's going to be tough. I think pitching wise as well, you can't throw Bailey Falter against Framber Valdez or even Jose Urquidy. You need to have Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and then 2 players exactly like Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, it'll be, I always, Philly, I think it's a blue collar town. So then you look at Houston, they're the white collar team, so you got the blue collar versus the white collar. I don't know. Enron was in Houston, right? And I'll go with that.
Okay, yeah, whatever it takes.
Know.
Get you there.
But the Astros are 7-0 in the postseason, and they came in to New York thinking we have to win here in New York, because this is going to be, the Yankees are going to want to win at home. And so then they put those pieces together. They're going to have that same attitude, same mindset going into Philly, but Philly is a different breed, sports city wise, is because the New York, they turn on you on a dime. Phillies fans are, they are excited. It's been a long time since the Phillies have been in the postseason. So yeah, it's going to be, I also think it's interesting too, that the interesting thing, I didn't even think about this, was that the Astros and the Phillies were supposed to face off. They were supposed to play against each other opening day, March 30, which would have been March 31st. And that didn't happen. So everything got shifted in the schedule, and they played them in October. And in October, the Astros were 11-1, regular season and postseason. The only team to beat them was the Phillies in Houston on October 3rd, and that was the game that got the Phillies their wild card spot.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it's kind of.
I got you. My butt on that is the Asterisks weren't playing for anything at that point.
Right.
And it's the end of the season. The Phillies had to take it to the very end, just 2 more games after that. So it really makes it, that could be something. It's not they're unfamiliar with them, but.
Well, Aaron Nola, fun fact, Aaron Nola and Alex Bregman were roommates at LSU. So there is a familiarity between those two.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you grasping you're just pulling stuff out of the air? This is the first time that a series has been played by 2 teams that,
No, the other thing
1901.
Is the Astros have not been great at home during the not this postseason, but in the World Series and previous.
Now, they've never won a game 1 in the World Series.
Yeah.
The question is, we know that they're capable of sweeping the Phillies. We know that they could do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's less likely that the Phillies would sweep the Asterisks. It could also happen. Possible, not probable. The other one is a little more probable that the Asterisks could do that. Can they overcome that first game loss tradition.
The way they're playing, if the break doesn't seem to bother them, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't
Okay.
come
All
in
right.
and win the first game. Of course, I have who I want to win. I think we all know who that is. Because I
Yeah,
could
they're not in the
never,
playoffs.
I
They're not going to the World Series.
I could never root. I can never root for the Asterix ever.
No. But,
And
as we've
I
talked
will.
about, there's a difference between rooting for them and understanding what their team is and what they're able to do.
Well, right. And now this also, Astros have won 19 more games than the Phillies in the regular season. This is the second largest World Series matchup win disparity of all time. Phillies' first trip to the World Series since 2009. Again, I think the world's second most interesting man, as he calls himself, Dusty Baker. This is his third chance at a World Series title. You always hear that old adage, third time's a charm. And with this Astros team that he's got going, it seems like this could be it for Dusty Baker. And I would be happy for Dusty Baker, the individual.
Looking at both teams, regardless of who wins, who is your first choice for a potential MVP of the series? Why don't you give me one from each side?
Well, for the Phillies, I would have to go with Bryce Harper if he continues to play the way he's playing with a lot of heart. I think he really feels like he's carrying, not that he's not carrying the team, but he's carrying the city with him. And he has that support, so I would go with him if he continues. And then for Houston, I don't know. I gotta go with Albuquerque native Alex Bregman if he just keeps doing what he's been doing. And it's not. Yeah, he's had a home run. He's done that, but he's gotten hits when he needed those hits, and he's a good third baseman. I got to give that to him. So I'm gonna go with fellow New Mexican Alex Bregman.
Okay. I would have to say, when I'm thinking the Asterix, I kind of think that Kyle Tucker is probably going to have a big series. He's going to be the one to kind of step up there. I'm not sure what Tiny's going to do, but I don't foresee him really jumping out and picking things up. As far as the Phillies go, I wonder, between two guys, maybe having a breakout, maybe a third, and I'm not sure which one that I would want to go with. I think Rice Hoskins is a good potential pick just because of what he's done, and he could be completely on fire. But I think he's going to maintain what he's been doing. I am going to put that my two come down to Nick Castellanos or Alec Bohm. And I think Nick Castellanos is going to break out of whatever's been going on. He's had some good, but he's going to have a good series, and he's going to walk away with the MVP.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's who we'll look. We'll have to see.
We'll have to watch, and we'll talk about that next week, or next time after we get the finals. We figure out who's going to win all this stuff. We'll talk about all that, obviously, because we won't know till the end of the World Series. How about this? The most important thing in any World Series happens in Game 1. Who I guess it could happen anytime in the World Series, but it's nice if it happens in Game 1. Who will get America a taco?
Oh, yeah. Who's going to do it?
I have read some people had think that like Kyle Schwarber would surprisingly get that. I don't think so.
I think it could be Brandon Marsh.
That's who I was thinking, was Brandon Marsh, because he's fast. He seems the most likely one. That's what I was thinking as well.
All right, so we got that on the table.
So Captain Caveman will get us all a taco.
Yeah.
All right, so we know what each team is up against. We know the pitching overall probably goes towards the Asterisks. I think, well, everything we know kind of leans the Asterisks way just because of how they played. I think offensively, I think it could be, more of a toss-up because it's not like the Phillies don't have big bats that can come through. So with that, what is your World Series prediction and how many games?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this. I think it will be the Phillies in 5.
Okay.
And the reason I say that
Okay, go ahead.
is because, yes, they'll be in Houston, but will Houston be able to overcome that, whatever that is about winning at home, Game 1, and then really for Philly, one of the strengths that they have is the fans in Philadelphia. And I think that will be a big part. And with them going, you've got the first 2 games, Friday, Saturday, so today, tomorrow, Houston, 1 and 2. But then they go to Philly for games 3 and 4 and 5 if necessary. But I'm going to go Phillies in 5.
Okay. I picked the Phillies for almost the same, not the Phillies to win, but I think the Asterisks win this. I don't see any way around it, and I'm not a betting person, but if I was going to put money down, I think you put more money on the Asterisks to win, and then you put a nice little piece on the Phillies for the upset, to make up for whatever you didn't get by betting the favorite. I think 6 games. And I think that 6 games because of the Philly reason. 2 games, they'll win 2 at home, I believe, regardless of what the Asterisks do at home. They could go back 2-0. They're going to win 2 of those 3, and Houston will win it back in Houston.
All right. Set in stone. Or in a Sharpie. Yeah, all of the games are going to be on Fox with Joe Davis broadcasting his first World Series in his new role. So, he is the new baseball face for Fox since no more Joe Buck, and nobody cares.
Like I read somewhere, somebody said, I never thought that I would miss Joe Buck, and I was right.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got Joe Davis. I'm sure John Smoltz will be right there alongside of him. See how he is. He's always been good to, especially with the pitching analysis. And I don't know. I have favorable towards Joe Davis since he's a Dodgers announcer. I think he does a good job, and he did an excellent job. If you go back, listen to the call on Bryce Harper's home run. He really learned from Vin Scully, you let the crowd be part of that call. And he did. And that's one of the things I have always loved and I've always appreciated was watching games and listening to the crowd. And he did that, which a lot of announcers try to talk over. And he has done that too, but maybe he had that maybe Vince Scully kind of was with him there in that call because it's excellent. It's excellent call.
Let the moment breathe.
That's it.
Time to put the tarp back on the field as we wrap today. Remember, World Series starts today with the Phillies in Houston. We'll see. Will it go 5 games like Jana has predicted, or 6 like me? Or will the Asterisks just plow their way through and go 11-0 in the postseason? Make sure you check it out. If you're listening to us, I'm sure it's because you love baseball, so you probably are listening. If you are, make sure you tell a friend, because this is when some baseball fans, this is a great opportunity for baseball fans to be made right now, this time of year. All right, we will catch up with you next week. We'll update what's happened with the series, if it's still going on, and if not, then we'll wrap it up. So remember, you can find us on our social media pages, as we mentioned earlier in the show. Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Instagram and Facebook at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
SiblingRivalryBB.com is our webpage, and you can go to the Fanatics link there to get all your favorite teams' postseason gear, or you could get gear from the team that you hate and then use it to draw funny faces on or destroy, as part of your fandom for somebody else. Whatever it is, you can find it there on Fanatics through the SiblingRivalryBB.com link. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the World Series, and don't forget to swing away.